David, welcome. It's great to see you. Thanks for joining me today. We started before the cameras came on to talk about scalability in the cloud regarding artificial intelligence. What does that mean, especially to somebody inside an agency, and what should they be doing now? What should they be preparing for to be equipped to do that?
Yeah, it's funny. I was just asked this question outside by a member of one of the agencies. I think there's a misnomer that I have to bring all of my data to the cloud to use the cloud. There's some great technologies out there today that allow me to put a single server, even a workstation, inside my, black ops even data center, completely cordoned off from everything else. I only bring in some of the modeling and tools that have been sanctioned by my agency or by whatever oversight committee there is. And I can do all of the model development against my data on premise and with very small scale. Yes, it's going to be slow. It's not going to train at the speed that you might wish or maybe be accustomed to, but you can get the work done against the real data. And then when you've perfected the model, when you've worked out all of the biases, when you've got the level of accuracy you need, when you've figured out what the right combination of models is if you're doing some type of a chained approach, when you've got that in place, all internal, then what you can do is you can obfuscate your data. You can effectively transform the data using some very nice tooling that isn't very CPU intensive, and transform that data into just a bunch of factorials. And that's what you then move to a public cloud. You move your models to the public cloud, and then you use the scalability of public cloud to get the work done quickly against all of that data. One of the things that my company Lambda is introducing in the public cloud is effectively large clusters on demand, because we're seeing this need explode where an entity may not need 4,000 GPUs for years and dropping the money on housing that and powering that for years, depreciating it, doesn't make sense, because they can do this type of work internally and then move it to the cloud and get real work done, produce a very high quality model in weeks with 1,000, 2,000 GPUs. And so we're delivering kind of a cloud-like presence that allows you to get access to highly connected, high-speed connected GPUs very quickly so that you can do this type of sprint work is what we're calling it. And we really see this as being probably the best model for the non-Meta Googles, et cetera, of the world, where they're building very, very large models, and it makes sense to capitalize those assets over time. This new mechanism of kind of starting small, being able to scale the smallness and move just the evidence of the data is what I think is going to really change the face of app dev in public sector and even private.
How are agencies telling you that their demand signal is changing and is going to change based on the use of artificial intelligence? Not just for the cloud, but for all kinds of data analytics and so on.
It's been interesting. We used to operate in a model, over the past maybe 3 or 4 years where either a GSI or an agency itself would come to us and say, hey, we'd like for you to comment on the design of this particular thing that probably won't hit the market for 3 years. We've got to submit the design to Congress, and then Congress is going to approve it. And by the time Congress approves it, well, guess what? 3 years is a lifetime in this industry right now. And we literally fail at delivering 3-year-old contracts. Because you can't even find the infrastructure anymore. B, you don't want to find that infrastructure anymore because the stuff that's evolved in the 3 years since is 10, 20 times faster than what was quoted 3 years ago. And so to answer your question directly, what we're seeing change from that model to today is now agencies are asking us to come in and comment on how to take the quote from 3 years ago and do something better with it for the same price. Because oftentimes for the same price, while we might have to reduce the quantity of servers that are coming in, or the quantity of networking, or the quantity on software, we're actually increasing the capacity, sometimes orders of magnitude.
Yeah. The orders of magnitude concept is something that I'm hearing a lot today in all kinds of areas.
Yeah.
Speed at which organizations are gaining capacity for operational issues, all kinds of things. What are the things that organizations should be thinking about, especially in government, regarding this push for speed?
Yeah. The pace of change, I think, requires an attention that both public and private sector are struggling to get their arms around. I think it's similar to what those of us that have been around a little while might remember when we moved from the mainframe to the personal computer, where there was this explosion of ideas when we put the tooling in the hands of more people. We saw that a little bit with the web and knowledge. We saw that with the phone and access and speed to knowledge. And I think what organizations, even mission statements, need to adapt to is recognizing that with the pace of change today, I actually need task force to manage change within a mission. And not just accept that maybe the mission that was quoted in 2023 is even going to be valid by the time that Congress gets it approved. And so having yet another committee that is watching the technology evolve underneath different mission statements, underneath different congressional allocations, that's what I think has to happen. And they have to be the technologists that are innovative in their thinking, that can say, okay, this was the mission then, but since then, GPT has hit the market. Yep. Since then, model synchronization has happened. Since then, data obfuscation has happened. And be able to interpret the dollar spend and the intent into what really should be the solution that gets deployed.
David, it's great to have you on the show. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. This has been fun.